Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to Oh Gross. We hope you've been enjoying your summer. We know we have. Jennie and Molly are still recovering from Jennie's 50th birthday in Vegas. We will give you an update on that when we come back. But in the meantime, we are going to re-release an episode that was from early on in the podcast that we first were starting. It was our first major guest. It was Mama Jan. That is Jan Smith, the Grammy award-winning vocal coach and music producer. And lots of things have happened since we dropped this episode. We've been nominated for a Webby. Our audience has tripled, and we have a lot of new ears and eyes, depending on how you follow our podcast. But we thought it'd be great for all the new listeners to hear this amazing interview, as well as there's a little famous story, gross famous story, in this episode that has to do with the Backstreet Boys, bus driver, and worms. So we want to revisit that story with you because we have an update, a fun update on that story that might involve Jennie getting a message from Lance Bass.
Oh, gross. The drama's about to end, 'cause gross. Stop asking for a friend, taboos. Icky is what we do, just science. Yeah, it's not so weird. Your gross out journey starts right here on Oh, gross.
Worms. There's so many types of worms, and worms have plagued me for my entire life. Not that they're coming out of me.
Wait a minute. Why have they plagued you? Why would you use that particular term?
Okay, when I was an undergrad and I worked at the vet, I was a vet tech, and I used to have to take dogs' fecal samples, so they're poo-poo. And Dr. Corey, the vet that I worked for, he was awesome, and he would make us all learn how to look under the microscope. We didn't send the fecal samples off to be analyzed. We had to learn how to analyze them ourselves under the microscope. So I learned how to identify whipworms, roundworms, hookworms.
This is making me nauseous.
Yeah. But it was really fun. So I knew what they looked like when they came out of a dog's butt, but I also knew what the eggs looked like. And so if that wasn't enough of all those types of worms, well, we know that kids can get worms. People get intestinal parasites that are kind of like worms. So we knew someone that had a tapeworm. Do you remember,
yes,
Molly?
Yes.
Wait. An actual real tapeworm?
Yes.
The kind that are supposed to make you skinny, is that true? Because I heard if you get a tapeworm, you get skinny.
Well, this person was very skinny.
Yeah, he was skinny.
But the tapeworm came out of...
It came out of his penis and he pulled it out.
No!
And he told us it was like a few feet long. He was one of the bus drivers for the Backstreet Boys on one of their tours. And he called us to tell us he was going to be late to the venue because he was having some pain in his abdomen. He couldn't tell if he had to pee. And so he pulled the bus over on the side of the road and he peed out a tapeworm. Literally peed out a tapeworm.
But how did he get the tapeworm out of his peen? Did he have to pull it out, or did it just worm out? How did the tapeworm get out of the peen?
He said when he was peeing, he could kind of see it jiggling out of the tip. And so he pulled it out and he showed everyone on the bus, and that the Backstreet Boys on his bus were freaking out. And we were like, oh my God.
Again, more questions here from as I cross my legs and I don't even have a penis. A doctor confirm it was a tapeworm. Did someone save the worm, or is this just urban dick legend from Backstreet Boys bus driver?
No, he did end up going to the doctor later on, and he did have the eggs in him. So that really was a tapeworm.
All right, Kara, I heard you had a worm scare this week.
Oh, yuck. Yes.
Do tell.
So my son got in trouble for butt touching.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about butt touching? Wait, touching his own butt or someone else's butt?
Well, a little bit of both, but
please explain.
I had to get to the bottom of it. All puns intended.
I was just going to say that.
Killian is very affectionate, and he likes sometimes to do the baseball butt tap, when he's hugging people.
Like the
So-
good game.
Like the good game. Like
Good game.
Yeah, just good game. Good game.
Okay.
So, working on keeping our hands to ourselves. But the panic I had was I had seen him when he got home from school, and I found out that, they just were trying to teach him keep his hands to himself. And then when you hug, you don't need to also do the good game butt tap. Okay. He comes home and he scratches his butt. Even though it was only one butt scratch outside the pants, I immediately panicked and texted Jenny, Killian is scratching his butt.
She did.
And what was I worried about, Jenny?
Any mom is going to be worried with butt scratching because of pinworms.
Exactly. I thought for sure he was getting pinworms. And then I was panicking like how he could have gotten it. But you can't get pinworms from over the clothes baseball butt taps, right, Jenny?
You absolutely cannot. You actually scratch a butt, or your child would scratch their own butt, and the eggs get under your fingernails. And a lot of kids don't wash their hands well in the restroom. And so they eat something and they ingest the eggs that are under their fingernails. Is everyone okay?
Gross. So gross. The good news is he did not scratch his bare butt and there was nothing under his fingernails.
Exactly.
Then the next day you told me your son got in trouble.
He did. All right. So we have little boys the same age.
Yes.
And my little boy was on the playground and he needed to go potty. And apparently the teacher said that she had already taken the whole little class potty before they went on the playground. But my little boy could not hold it on the playground. And he asked to go back in and go to the bathroom. And she said, no, we just took you. We don't have time. Well, he needed to go. So he went outside on the playground in front of the whole class.
Oh, where could he have learned that?
I will admit it is
Little
my
boys.
fault. It is my fault because I have let them go off the deck at times. Or if they're outside and we just really have to go and it's an emergency, I'll, let them go in, their grandparents' yard or something. But I was told this would come back to haunt me by my husband and my mother-in-law, and they were right.
They were right.
They were right. It's my fault.
I just love the fact that we can talk about butts and worms and everything gross, and it feels so natural to us. But the truth is, this stuff happens to everybody, right? Even celebrities, correct?
Even
Right.
celebrities. Yeah. The Backstreet Boys were on that bus watching the tapeworm come out, But yeah, that anyone that's a mom that has children, whether they're a celebrity or not, they have to deal with worms.
And even if you don't have kids, this is what this podcast is all about. Listen, we talk about everything from your kitchen nightmares to your butt scratches.
We've all had a ton of those, haven't we?
Oh yeah, it happens to everyone. When you travel, when you work with people, there's just so many different ways that gross things can happen to us every day.
Exactly. And speaking of travel, it is Thanksgiving week and we are doing our Thanksgiving episode today. Yay!
Yay! Happy Thanksgiving!
Happy Thanksgiving. But just a reminder to our audience, if you have not checked out our leftovers episode or the continuation of our leftovers episode where we get into condiments, you need to check that out for Thanksgiving and for all the holidays because there's a lot of great tips and some things that might scare you, but don't be scared. It's going to be okay.
This is the week of leftovers.
This is the week of leftovers. You need to know how to properly store your leftovers.
This is like the next 6 weeks of leftovers.
Yes, it is the next.
True.
Going into the holidays, yes.
True.
And we did learn a lot from those episodes.
I just want to point out that because of that episode, I am thawing my turkey starting today in the fridge.
It's safely thawing. So if you have not checked it out, go check it out right now. We talk about everything with leftovers, how to keep your kitchen safe and clean, and what you need to know about cutting boards.
Ooh, yeah.
What about kicking people out of the kitchen during this time of year when you're cooking?
That should be a whole other episode, Molly.
Yes.
But the great thing about Thanksgiving is we also get to talk about what inspires us and the things we're thankful for. So we're all excited about that. And I'm going to share a little tradition in my home, if you girls don't mind, that I think would be special to do together.
We would love to hear
Please
it.
do.
As you know, Brian came home on Thanksgiving Day and we found out that he was going to be okay after being diagnosed with cancer. So for us, Thanksgiving is really about taking the moment to be grateful for everything in your life and be present. So what we always do is go around the table and say something we're thankful for. It's a really fun tradition. So I'm going to start out, if that's okay with you, and I want to say what I am thankful for today.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm thankful for our friendship. And I'm thankful.
Aw.
Yeah. And I'm thankful for this platform and that we get to finally partake in what's been a dream for a long time. And I'm
Yes.
super thankful for
Yes.
my mother. My mom's here, as you know, visiting, and I would not be here today if it wasn't for her when I was in college saying, you want to go be in entertainment, so go be in entertainment. You don't want to be a lawyer. I was going to be a lawyer, believe it or not, but yep.
I actually can believe that.
Yeah. I thought I was going to go to law school, and then I ended up in TV. But that's what I'm thankful for.
I am thankful for my family and my beautiful stepsons, Dylan and Jackson, and my amazing husband, Brad, and our two gorgeous kitties, Brutus and the Momo kitty. And I'm grateful for all my friends who are like family, which includes y'all.
Aww.
Well, I am thankful for both of you also because this is a dream we've all been talking about for so long. And I love doing life with you both, not just the podcast, but just life in general, because life would be boring without you two.
Without all the questions.
Yes, and the fun. And I'm also thankful for my family, and I'm so thankful that my dad is here.
Yes.
Glad that we get to spend Thanksgiving with him. And I'm thankful also for my little boys and Lily the dog and Clarice the cat. And I'm honored today to actually have the opportunity to chat with one of the women in my life who inspired me. The incomparable, the world famous premier vocal coach of the world, Jan Smith today.
So Mama Jan, as she is known throughout the world now,
Right.
she not only is a Grammy-nominated producer, she's in the Georgia Music Hall of Fame. She is a multi-platinum, world-famous vocal coach, and she has coached some of the most distinctive voices in the business. Let's talk about some of the people that she's coached.
She's coached Usher, Justin Bieber, Rob Thomas, Matchbox 20, Shania Twain, the band Perry, Collective Soul, Keisha Cole. And these are just to name a few. The list goes on and on.
Well, and also you.
She
in
did.
Tree.
She coached me. She coached
you.
Tree.
Yes.
She did. She is a phenomenal human being, and we are so honored to have her on Oh Gross today. I'm so excited. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. It's a Mama Jen, and I think I like it.
And she produced our amazing theme song that everyone can't get out of their head.
Yeah.
It was so exciting to be in the studio with her.
And here she is. She is here to join us today, the legend, Mama Jan.
Thank you very much, ladies. Glad to be here.
So Mama Jan and I met when I was brought into her studio to try out to be one of her students when I had put out a maxi single, and it started peaking on the Billboard charts. So I was brought into the studio and I was a little bit nervous, and I knew that I might not get the opportunity to be her student and I might be someone else's student, but I went in and I tried out, and she was just as kind and funny, but down to business as anybody. And I absolutely loved her from the first moment. And I was honored to actually get to be one of her students. And we got to know each other. And over the years, I found out that she did have a similar upbringing to me.
Okay.
We both grew up in a Christian home. I'm a preacher's daughter, so we bonded about that quite often, talking about our upbringings and just how our parents mentoring us with being women of integrity and honesty and faithfulness just molded part of my life.
My dad was not a pastor. I always joke and say my dad was worse than a pastor. He was on the senior board of deacons, so he could fire the pastor.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
But I can't say that I remember specifically when Jennie came in. I certainly know who Jennie is and love her very much. But very typically when people come in, there's kind of that intimidation factor that we have to get over.
Right.
Because what I'm there to do is to help build people up. And sometimes you have to break down certain habits or bad form in people. So I'm guessing that with Jennie, when we were initially introduced, it was a matter of assessing, kind of where she was at and telling her the truth about that. And then moving forward from there to make sure that we could build her up in those places of weakness so that she could perform better for what she was looking to do. And that's really what we're all about, is helping other people excel at what they're wanting to do.
Absolutely. That was true, because I was just peeking on Billboard and I remember you saying to me, okay, well, we've got something to work with, but this is what we need to work on. Are you ready to get to work? And we did.
Yep.
And I do have a funny story, Mama Jan. I actually came into the studio with Jennie one time, and I was so number one, I was so nervous for her, not for me, but for her, because of course we've heard about your vocal training and everything that you've done in your career, but it was really a lot of fun. During the session, first of all, Jennie walks into the booth and you hit the button. Okay, Jennie, this is what you're going to work on today. XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And you said, okay, now go ahead, Jennie, start singing. Well, then you turn to me and you're like, hey, Molly, guess what? I have this great new MAC lipstick. What do you think about this color? Do you think it's... And you were completely talking to me, but you were listening at the same time. And mid-sentence, here you are. This lipstick, I think it's great. What do you think about this color? Wait a minute, Jennie. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Are you on Billboard right now? Because if you are, you're going to have to hit that note a little bit differently. So let's try this again. And then, okay, Molly. So anyway, what do you think about this and this and this? So it was so funny. It was just such a pleasure to meet you and see how you worked with Jennie, and I'm sure with the other artists as well.
I remember.
You've just described ADD on parade. That's what that is, multitasking. And I think that multitasking comes natural to those of us in the entertainment industry who are kind of jack of all trades, kind of like setting up sound for podcasts. So listening to a client sing while you're plugging something else in or putting on a new lipstick is all part of the package, I think.
I remember that day. I remember looking through the glass and I could see Mama Jan showing Molly this new MAC lip gloss. Jennie, I better pay attention to what I'm doing.
It's funny to me what people remember, like that you would remember that story in particular.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That little machine that you'd put in there that would tell us if we were off key too. I remember that.
Strobe tuner.
Yes.
Yeah, strobe tuner. Working on accurate pitch and working on intervals. Absolutely. And you know what, Jennie, that is still in my office. Even though it's a dinosaur, I still use that Peterson strobe tuner. I do. Yeah.
So everyone else gets to look at it. I would look at it to see, what are the lights doing on it right now? Am I on key? I have another story too. I remember you gave me one of a vocal warm-up CD. And it was Usher's.
That's right.
And so it was so funny because you handed it to me. You said, you need to do this every day. And I have a note for you on it. And for some reason, I didn't look at the note until I got home. And I still have the CD and it says, Mama Jan's something, vocal warm up for Usher. And Jennie, if you replicate this or give it to anyone, Mama Jan will kick your butt. And you wrote it in a circle on that CD.
So you know what? That's interesting because that was when I was first commissioned to do that warm-up CD for him. And now I got permission from him to be able to, because I created that, but they paid me to do that. And so now that's the biggest selling item that I have on my website store.
Oh, wow.
It's called Miss Jan's No Nonsense Warm-Up. But it's known as Usher's Warm-Up, and that's the one that we did for his tour prep. Sure did for Confessions, yeah.
That is awesome. Well, I have an OG copy that says Mama Jan will kick your butt on it, so I'm keeping it.
That's a serious OG copy right there.
That is.
How did he use that warm-up to get ready for the Super Bowl this year?
Usher has been a client since he was about 17 years old, and he's probably the best vocal athlete I've ever really worked with. No offense, Jennie.
It's okay. I'll take it.
I'm just saying he comes at it from a regimented athletic approach, which is one of the best things that an artist can do because the more regimented they are, or the more disciplined somebody is as far as warming up and cooling down and really taking care of the physical body, the better physical performance they're going to have vocally. We attribute a lot of things with the voice to spirituality, to emotion, aesthetics, but bottom line, we're physical machines, we're physical noisemakers. And so being able to help artists understand how to condition physically is going to give them the better of the emotional, aesthetic, and spiritual performances.
And I think that's so interesting, Mama Jan, because Jennie and Molly always talk about how you've inspired them on multiple levels, not just working with Jennie, to help as a vocal coach, but also like as an entrepreneur and understanding the whole business side of things. Right, Jennie, you talk about that a lot.
Yes, Kara, it's so true. You don't understand how much you influenced just the way I am, not only as a human being, but in business. And one of the first examples that comes to mind is when you would teach me how to stand in my power as a woman. And when I first started the lice business, the science industry, the science world is male dominated still a lot.
Sure.
And I would run into men, discounting what I knew and in what I was degreed in. And I've gone on to get a master's degree in science and develop my product line. And they would call me sweetie and honey and discredit what I was saying. And without being ugly, I would tell them and stand my ground with them and say it in a way where I was firm, but not unprofessional, and stand my ground. And because I did that, it's something that I always think about is how much your influence has meant to me and has molded me into the person that I am, not only personally, but in business. So I want to thank you for that.
No, you're very welcome. I appreciate that. I also talk to, young women especially. I mean, the music industry, the entertainment industry at large is a male-owned, operated, and dominated industry. And I always tell people that if you're going to play football, if you walk down on the field and you don't have shoulder pads and a helmet on, you're going to get creamed. So expecting the game to change because I'm a woman is really... I agree with Jennie, some of the references you made, but I also don't take offense to that because what I'm going to do is continue to do the work that I do in excellence, carve my own path, be a trailblazer, if you will, of my own, so that there's not a question about the fact that I can deliver on whatever platform they put me on. And if it's them putting me there, then I'm still going to be able to perform well and compete at a level to where it doesn't matter if I am female or they're male. I think that when it comes to work and excellence, there is no separation where the word excellence is concerned. So if you're delivering excellence at whoever you are and you raise the bar with the people that you're working with, to me, that sets the standard versus having to reach someone else's definition of who you are.
And my background is television, which is very male dominated and self-serving. And I remember from the moment I started in TV, I had to not only fight to be heard, but find a way to get into the boys club. So one time I had a job that was more of a supervising position. And it was this kick in the gut feeling of like, how am I going to get them to respect me and pay attention to me? So I came up with an idea because I knew that what I had to say was important. It was going to make the show better, actually, but I was very frustrated that no one would listen to me. So I owned a pair of those metal stress balls. Girls, you know what I'm talking about? You can roll them in your hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I decided to bring these balls to work with me one day. And I slapped them down on the desk.
Yes.
And opened the box. And I said, see, I have a set of balls now too. And mine are steel.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
So it was a great icebreaker, but that's how, I felt that's how I had to get attention. It was as I had to bring my balls to work. It was the only way to do it. So, but it was pivotal to me. I mean, that was a moment where I knew, okay, I'm going to find a way to be heard. And Jennie tells the story of when she, went over to the other scientists and said, hey, you know what? The formula's not right. And you got to hear my formula, Because obviously you influenced Jennie so much with that moment for her life. Do you have moments like that in your life that you can share where you, you knew you had to find a way to just say what you need to say?
I think that my whole career as Mama Jan has been marked by me kind of being that person that means what I say and say what I mean. I don't really hold back. And I guess the thing I'm most noted for in that department is when I was on tour with Justin Bieber and they were filming the movie, and Justin, at that point, was just a tender teenager, and he was losing his voice. Part of that was puberty. Part of that was he couldn't shut up. He was screaming and doing things he shouldn't have done, but he was a kid. This is a kid that went from playing guitar on the streets of Canada to being in arenas with 20,000 people screaming at him. So the bigger issue was we had the Madison Square Garden show coming up that weekend that we were filming. So I had to take his voice out of play of the game for about 3 days. We needed about 36 hours down. The problem was we had a sold out show in New York City. And nobody in the industry ever wants to say no. Nobody wants to pull a plug on a show ever. Now, if LeBron James tore his ACL, we'd bench him for the rest of the season. But if you're a singer, they say, oh no, I'll push through. I can do it. And that's the mentality of the management. It's the mentality of the agents. It's the mentality of the entire industry that puts a lot of pressure on those two little strips of fiber that sit in people's necks that everybody else is basing their income off of. And so we had to pull the plug on that show. I kind of got to be the person that said, we're going to cancel that show, because nobody really wanted to do it. And yet they were looking at me, putting me in that position of authority, if you will. And I said, okay, well, then we're going to cancel the show. And we rescheduled the show, but it was about stepping up when stepping up was being called for. And I've been put in that position now a whole lot as a voice of authority when I was like, how did I get here? And yet being able to step up and say, I don't think so. And sometimes people decide against the better judgment, but at the same time, it's about really being able to speak up and say, in the best interest of the client, even if they decide to do otherwise, I'm going to say, I think you're making a mistake. And being okay with that, even if I lose the business, because it's more important to me to tell the truth, because the truth works.
So can you tell us what makes a good performer or a great performer? What is it exactly that makes somebody a great performer?
Well, I think it's all of those things. It's preparedness, it's conditioning, giving 150%. It's the nonstop attitude. It's pouring yourself into something and raising the bar. Is there such a thing as just true charisma? Do I see people who have that? Absolutely. I recognize it when I see it. I know it. It doesn't mean that they're going to be famous. Fame and great artistry are two different things. Sometimes they collide, sometimes they don't.
Molly and Jenny, did you ever think you become internet famous over lights videos? I mean, the public 20
We would have never thought
20
that.
plus million views. I don't know if Mama Jan knows that.
That's great. That's super. Congratulations.
Yeah, millions of views.
Ultimately, though, what makes a star is the public. It's how well the public receives what you're doing. I can be great at doing something, sitting in Paducah, Iowa, playing guitar in a barn, and nobody's going to know. And I'm never going to be on that landscape, on anybody's radar. So being in the right place at the right time, who knows what that really means, because none of us can predict that. That's what makes it so elusive. That's why we can't bottle it up and sell it. I think that work ethic and perseverance and just keeping on, and not stopping, not being afraid to work, not being afraid to do and to pursue, and to always, always, always learn. If you stop learning, you die.
And Mama Jan, you didn't get your start in music, correct? That actually came later.
My background, educational wise, is in psychology. So I actually worked full-time as a psychologist for the state of Georgia for 8.5 years while I was honing my own chops in a band and recording and doing albums and pursuing my own career. So for me, it was about helping other people. I started working in studios, helping other artists, helping other vocalists, doing background vocal work, cartoon work, using my voice however I could to be able to generate income. And what started happening is, because of the vernacular that I was able to develop that helped other artists be able to deliver better, then people started seeking me out. And then I started getting paid for that. I started working at the Atlanta School of Rock, which was run by a guy named Steve Dukes in Atlanta, Georgia. And he gave me an opportunity to help one of his guitar players who was losing his voice. And from there, other rock and roll and urban singers and rappers started seeking me out, because there wasn't really anybody available at that time who was catering to the needs of what I would consider to be my people, street singers, versus classical. But I had enough information and enough education in classical to be able to meld the two, creating a vernacular that was communicative in commercial formats. And then I started getting paid for it. And then there were 2, and then there were 200. And then I needed help to be able to see everybody. And then I trained a protege, and now we have 7 or 8 of them. So that's really, a business was born through the work of my hands and because I was helping other people. I didn't plan on any of this. I think that I would have been a better businesswoman had I gone to business school. And I might would have structured things differently, because I run my business like a friendship instead of like a business. But I've had colleagues with me for, 10, 20, and 30 years also, because they've been able to prosper as well. it's been a really interesting journey, but I can't take any of the credit for that. I have to say honestly that God honed my skill set and my path for all of this time and created this business now that we call Mama's Music House through me. It wasn't me creating it because I was smart enough to do all that.
Is there one piece of advice that you would have for a new entrepreneur?
To do it, to lean in. What are you doing that actually is providing a service or is helpful to somebody else in their endeavors? And if you are providing that, you're always going to prosper because people will need you. And in this industry, especially in entertainment, it's really hard to keep that in mind because we're a self-oriented industry. I mean, it's about me, me, me. It's about me being on a pedestal, me performing my vocals, me being on that stage, me looking good, me walking the red carpet. So it's real easy for people to get lost in the me of it. Jenny, you may remember this, but I even tell my clients when they're singing, I don't care how you feel when you're singing. I care how I feel when you're singing. And that's true of a general audience. And I think that's true of people in general. What people need is what they need, not what you need for them to have. So if you can answer that question, then you're going to prosper by virtue of helping someone else achieve.
Mm-hmm. That makes so much sense.
Do you think, Mama Jan, like your background in psychology, I think it's so fascinating because we're constantly, trying to figure out people to get what we need. Do you think your background in psychology has helped you work with all these people and also be as great as you are at what you do?
Well, I actually went into psychology trying to figure myself out. So I do think that education in general, I think that knowledge is power, and the application of that makes us more successful. And so going to school, having a degree in psychology, I also have a secondary degree in English composition and literature because I'm a writer and I love words and I wanted to be a good songwriter because that's really what I was pursuing as a young singer-songwriter. So for me, does it matter that I have that background in education? Absolutely. The study of psychology is the study of human behavior. And so it certainly helps me not only figure me out, but it helps me to help my clients figure themselves out and maybe have a little bit more of an edge on vernacular and how to do that, especially behavioral sciences. But I think more than anything else, the mistakes that I made that taught me the lessons that I needed to know are those things that are the most valuable, the most powerful. And when I can relate to a client, to truly relate to them if they're going through something or they're struggling with addiction or they have a question about a relationship or how they need to handle themselves in business or what they're saying in songs, I think that my own experience and the things that I've learned through, like I said, my own error, my own mistakes, have been the most powerful teachers to be able to offer that forward. And the relatability of that, because then people don't feel like they're alone. And if they say, well, if Miss Jan, could do this and get through it, and this is how that happened, then maybe I can too.
So true. I just remember feeling like you got me when I was there. And that really strikes a chord, I'm sure, with all of, Mama's babies, because you're able to see people and pull things out of them that they might not even realize are in them. Their strength, their confidence. That psychology background makes a lot of sense now.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that, Jenny. I also think that what's more important to me is the sustainability of the person. I work with a lot of artists who have incredible careers and great success, but if they're not sustainable as human beings, then we have a problem. It doesn't matter how much money somebody makes if they're struggling internally, if they're breaking down, if their support system is not in place, if they don't know who to listen to. It's very dangerous. It's real dangerous out there. And there's always somebody who wants something from, who is going to take from, who is going to misguide, mislead, misdirect. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it's about helping to build that person up from the inside out, as well as strengthen their voices. And I do that under the guise of vocal coaching,
Right.
but it's really about helping to build more sustainable human beings.
Well, you do. And we appreciate it.
Do you remember when Jenny started their business? Do you remember when you first heard about it?
I do. And it was an interesting thing when you told me about that, but I didn't really understand or know more about it. And it was kind of cool to see that you had created a product and a company out of a basic need that people have that's not something people are necessarily proud of or talk about a lot, but making it something that is accessible so that people can treat a problem, an issue. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Mama Jan, I'm going to take a little pivot here. All right. We need to know, do you have any oh gross stories for us?
I've always been very conscious of shaking hands with people, but because being in the public eye and doing what I do, when I'm doing public speaking or different types of things, going to events, etc., I was always told, keep your hands away from your face, your eyes, your nose, because that's how we, transmit germs and other kinds of stuff. I will tell you my own personal story about that. I got worms one time.
Oh.
And it was hand to mouth. It was from biting my fingernails. And this was a long time ago when I was working in mental health. Inevitably, if you're a nail biter, your hands are going in your mouth. So beginning to have some stomach distress, I went to my doctor and was informed that I had worms, which freaked me out.
I bet.
Because I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't, eat them. What do you mean? And these were inside me. And I was just like, okay, how do I get rid of these? And my doctor looked at me and said, well, I can give you a prescription that will take care of it 7 to 10 days. And I'm just like, oh no, I'm talking about right now.
Today.
Yes.
So if the worms were in your stomach, would that be a tapeworm, or was it a parasite or some sort of intestinal worms? Like, Jenny, what kind of worms can be in your stomach?
Well, it wouldn't have been tapeworms, and it wouldn't have been pinworms, because those would include butt itching. But it would probably be something intestinal, like a hookworm, a roundworm, a whipworm, just to name a few that could be in your intestines.
That would come from the dirt under your fingernails.
Right.
Mama Jen, did you end up asking what kind of worm you actually had?
No, she gave me the big Monty, the big pills that made me sick as a dog for like 24, 36 hours. Got rid of them. But let me tell you, it broke me from putting my hands in my mouth. It taught me to wash my hands more. It taught me to sanitize my hands. And this is a long time before we got into any kind of, COVID. I was like, okay, I've really learned how to pay attention to being around other people and recognizing the fact that we do transmit that way.
This is so crazy. We were literally just talking about worms at the top of the episode, right? We were talking about all the worms.
Right. We were. It's so common. There's so many types of worms that people can get, and it's more common than people think.
Yeah.
And, it's crazy because even celebrities like yourself, Mama Jen, can get worms, and this happens to everyone.
And it's just like, with lice, we were just, speaking about rockers and things like that. It's so common when people are doing meet and greets and selfies and things like that.
The hidden danger of selfies.
Who knew?
Definitely make sure you let your artists know that when they're touring or they're meeting fans, things like that, they need to watch their head-to-head contact, their hugging, things like that.
Wow, I'm going to start feeling weird about hugging people now. Oh, no.
Well, hug them. Just kind of keep your head a little bit back from them.
Wow, you know what? That's actually really important. It's such good information, because when I'm with my artist, I'm looking at thousands of people that are in meet and greets, and constantly it's a whole barrage of that going on all the time.
You're right. You get ushered, and you're just in this line trying to get through the crowd with, the security, and everyone's heads are touching and everyone's sweaty from the stage lights.
That's a very good point. I'm big on sanitation, but I hadn't thought of that. I will share your words of wisdom.
Good. I think one of the reasons why lice became popular because of you guys is because of the entertainment influence. Well, their TikTok is 20 plus million views.
See, there you go. It's the quirkiest thing. You really kind of don't know what's going to, hit with people. And I think that's the fun of it. That's the elusiveness of it. And that's the mystery of it.
That's so true.
Right.
The song, that makes me think of the song that hit Billboard, which you talk about how you never know what's going to hit with people. The song that peaked at number 2 on Billboard was a song that we wrote in 5 minutes as a joke.
Right. Yeah.
And that was the song that hit Billboard.
And that happens all the time. You have to know. Yeah. Usher's song, is a perfect example of that. Coo, 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 right? That was not even supposed to be on the album Confessions. And it was a bunch of guys in the studio one night, and they threw that down. And they put it out there kind of as a street test, just to see what would happen. And it was nominated for a Grammy as Record of the Year, Single of the Year. You listen to that, those 4 notes, and everybody knows that song. Everybody. So it's just one of those things. You never know.
You never know.
That 5-minute songwriting session turned into a number 2 hit. I mean,
It
There you
did.
go.
It did.
There you go.
And
There
that
you
one
go.
video you put on the internet of lice crawling on a paper
there you
towel.
go. Yes.
Many more videos of lice crawling on paper towels and heads.
Yeah. Okay, you're freaking me out now.
My husband always says, "Why do you take the voiceovers on these TikToks so seriously?" And I said, "Well, I come from the entertainment industry. The voiceover
There you
has
go.
to be good."
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the best part. It's the juxtaposition of you like being so serious and so professional, and then like the lice are crawling in the background.
Right.
That's pretty creepy. It's pretty creepy.
I just want to say this has been such an honor for me because I'd heard so many stories
Yeah.
from Jenny about
Thank you.
how you influenced her. And obviously I know of you and your background, but it's been such an
Thank
honor to
you.
hear you as a female, as an entrepreneur myself. Thank you for inspiring
My pleasure.
women and inspiring people to be okay with caring about others first. And, and being okay with being who they are. And as Jenny says, standing in their power. I mean, this has been so inspiring.
I was going to say, duh, what a concept.
Right?
Like,
Right.
How hard is that for me to encourage people to care about other people? Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's true. But like you said,
It's true.
An entertainment industry is all about yourself. And if you're not that person in the room
Yeah.
saying, hey, what about me? Right? You think you're going to fall to the wayside. But to your point, it all comes back and boomerangs back, all that good you put out there.
It does. We hope it does.
Yes.
Well, we want to thank you again so much. You are such a wonderful human being, and I love you so much. I've known you for so many years, and you mean so much to me. And I just
Thank
want you
you.
to know it's such an honor to have you come on our show.
We are so grateful. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
I can't believe that I never knew that Mama Jan had worms.
I know, but it goes to show it can happen to anyone.
Okay, now I have a really important question because now I'm scared. I was with my husband. We used to go to the same sushi place in LA all the time when we were younger. And one time we got sushi and I went to go down and eat the sushi and I saw this tiny little white worm
Oh, no.
on top of the sushi. Okay.
No.
So what kind of worm would that be that it's like living on the raw fish like that? That's not the same thing as like being a tapeworm. Would that have caused a tapeworm to come out my vagina?
I mean, I think that it's possible in undercooked food, there can be different parasites in it. For example, my mom was a nurse during her career. And one time when she was working in labor and delivery in Chicago, she was assisting. And when they were delivering this baby, they pulled out a 6-foot tapeworm also.
How do you get a tapeworm?
You swallow, usually it's the eggs or like the little worms, but it's usually from eating undercooked certain foods, but also mostly it's from feces, from different types of feces. And you don't wash your hands and you get the eggs and they get into your intestines and voila, you have tapeworms.
Much more common than we thought. I mean, I know you knew, Jenny, but I mean, more common than I thought.
To be clear, tapeworms are not as common in sushi as the anasakiakis. Can you guys say that?
Anasakiakis.
Anasakiakis. Is that right?
Was that right?
What is it? What is an
What is it?
anasakiakis?
It's anasakiakis.
Uh-huh.
And it is the most common parasitic infection that people will get from eating raw or undercooked fish. And that
Is it a worm? Is it a worm?
It is known as the herring worm, yes.
Ooh.
And it is
Ooh.
a parasitic disease. And these worms will attach to the walls of someone's esophagus, stomach, or intestines.
Oh,
So that is normally what you would get from eating bad sushi.
I'm just really happy that I'm not having sushi for Thanksgiving. I don't know about you guys.
Wait, I have to go back for a second. It attaches to the esophagus, not the intestine?
It does attach to the intestine, but it can actually also attach to the esophagus, the stomach, and the intestine.
Oh my
And
gosh.
people can have sudden severe stomach pain from it. And of course, the usual vomiting and diarrhea.
Oh, no.
There's lots of cases where people travel and they get all sorts of intestinal parasites from, touching something or not washing hands or biting a fingernail. So happens all the time.
And listen, now my sushi story is next level because I don't know if I'm going to eat sushi ever again because now I'm convinced worms are everywhere. And I need this to wrap up because I need to go wash my hands and clean my fingernails.
I mean, listen, all of the things that we talk about, all of the gross things that can be so frightening and funny with worms and pinworms, tapeworms, all the different gross things, it really comes down to common sense. A lot of times if people just do simple things like washing your hands thoroughly, you'll be sure that you don't get infected poop or bacteria or worms under your fingernails. So it comes down to common sense. Wash your hands. And also if you go out for that sushi or go to those restaurants, you want to make sure that the food preparation is done properly. And you really want to be sure to check that restaurant score.
On that note, let's all be thankful and excited about Thanksgiving dinner.
Thankful that we're not having
the cooked
sushi.
Turkey that we're going to eat.
The very cooked turkey that we're going to eat.
Piping hot.
Piping hot turkey that we are all going to eat. None of us will be eating sushi.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Well, this has been a joy. And once again, I am so grateful for you guys in my life and everything that we share together.
Oh,
and
we're grateful for you.
Yeah.
Love you.
Oh,
I
and
love
our
you
whole
guys.
team. Our whole
Yes,
team
our
also.
whole team. We're grateful for everybody, Brian, Ryan, and Dave. That's our
Dave.
team. Yeah, we love you so much.
We
and we can't
do.
forget Slow too. We would all not sound as beautiful as we do if it wasn't for Slow, our
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Slow.
Slow.
audio. Yep.
If you're listening right now and you don't follow us already, seriously, what are you doing? Hit that follow button and make sure you never miss the icky, sticky fun.
Next time you're scrolling in the dark in the bathroom, follow us at It's Oh Gross on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube to stay updated on all things Oh Gross.
Catch you next Wednesday with a brand new episode.
Oh, gross. That drama's about to end, 'cause gross. Stop asking for a friend, taboos. Icky's what we do. Psoriasis, podiatrist, and pinworms too. It's so gross. No need for strife, because gross. Life is part of life, it's just science. Yeah, it's not so weird. We got the facts, nothing to fear. Oh, gross. It's just science, no, it's not weird. It's just science, nothing to fear. It's just science, so wipe those tears. It's boogers and a rash and that sticky scratch. Oh, gross.